All right. What's up, Card Nation? How we doing? Let's wait a couple more minutes before we get into the show. Appreciate y'all for tuning in on a sort of an abrupt episode, but man, I had to get on here live. It's been a long time coming. As you can tell by the YouTube thumbnail, it's a breath of fresh air, and I'm really excited for this team. You know, they showed a lot of good things, and we'll break them down here in just a minute. Let's see. I'm just looking over the stats here, man. It's it's kind of a funny breakdown. 47 threes. Nonetheless, here, we'll wait for a second. Be sure to drop some thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from you all, hear what you all have to say. Let's go Cards, good win. Yep, we're back. 40-0, baby. All the way back, 40-0. What up, Louisville, Lamont, Robert, Louisville, Lamont. What's going on? Just another minute or so, and then we'll kind of just jump right on into it. Now, I really do not have a plan for this show. I'm just going to be completely going off the dome. Just kind of my first reaction. Didn't really get an opportunity to kind of corral my thoughts in. Sort of by design. Wanted it to be as honest and have as much integrity as possible. So, all right. Just another minute. Give me 1 second to pull up the ad reads and we'll. Okay. All right. Be sure to share and send it to some friends, man. Let's get a lot of people in here tonight. All right, let's go ahead. We've wasted enough time, Dalton. Here we go. Louisville and Rob, I think Louisville last year scored over 100 against Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. All right. No more procrastinating. Let's get right on into it. There are so many positives to take away from Louisville's exhibition win over the Bahamas in the first game in the Pat Kelsey era. We're going to break it down on today's episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what is going on? Welcome into this live episode of the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This live reaction episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. The sports have stopped sporting like we want them to for now, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. As always, I want to personally thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week, your team every day. We're delivering the live reaction to the Louisville Cardinals' 111-59 victory in the first exhibition game of the Bahamas Summer League Hoop Series. The Cardinals defeating the Bahamas national team in blowout fashion. A lot of positives to take away. We'll sort of begin with the offense, then go to the defense, and then discuss sort of the individual play throughout the game as well. So a lot of great stuff. Be sure to comment, leave some thoughts in the comment section below. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Look, I'm just going to call it how it is. I'm not a huge fan of continually bringing up the past 2 years. I've really been just trying to turn that page of the book, but it's 100% relevant because we now have something to compare to what we saw the last 2 years. And what we saw on the court on Tuesday evening for Louisville was completely different than anything we have seen, I would argue, in the past maybe 4 years, since that 2019-20 season when Louisville had a really good team. That's like the last time that I've seen anything comparable to this level of play. Now, as we go through this live reaction, understand it's the first game. It's an exhibition game at the end of July. We're not going to be crowning the Cardinals national champions at the end of July. I won't fault you for doing so, but reasonably, we're not going to do that. And we're not going to harp too much on the issues with the team. What I saw, and for reference, what I was wanting to see, the three things that I wanted to see. Number one, energy and effort. That was at the forefront of what I wanted to see from the Cardinals. And number two, offensively, I wanted to see the fast-paced scheme. I wanted to see the movement without the ball. And I've seen more extra passes today than I have in maybe the past couple of seasons combined. It really never felt like the offense was forced against the Bahamas. Now, understand that this was an opponent that Louisville was 100% supposed to beat. Louisville was supposed to beat the Bahamas. They were probably supposed to blow them out, which they did. So, again, the end result wasn't as important to me as it would have been in early November. But, I mean, still, you want to win games. I mean, exhibition games don't necessarily count, but they 100% affect the morale and even the perception of the program. I mean, look what happened when Louisville lost to Lenore-Rhine and Kentucky Wesleyan. It doesn't help. So, being able to win in a blowout was definitely sort of relieving and soothing for Card Nation. I feel like I can speak for the majority of the people in this YouTube room or whatever streaming service you're utilizing to listen to this. I think I can speak for the majority of us and say that we're just kind of relieved. Offensively, I was really intrigued. Obviously, this team plays extremely fast, as we sort of expected them to. I mean, Pat Kelsey's offenses are some of the most fast-paced offenses across college basketball. But one thing that I was a little bit surprised about was the amount of three-point shots. Louisville shot 47 three-pointers in the game against the Bahamas. It kind of just makes me laugh because, I mean, that's a lot of three-pointers. And what's more, I think, interesting is that they shot 43%. They made 23 pointers. Now, some of these were wide open. Again, this is a reflection of the level of competition. Is Louisville going to be a team that's shooting 45 three-pointers a game? Probably not. You're going to see the level of competition really affect that. But the Cardinals took what the defense gave them, and they made them pay. When you shoot 43% as a team, I mean, Terrence Edwards made 2. Kasean Pryor was 4 for 7. He made 3 of his first 4. Rain Smith shot 14 by himself. I know he's a volume shooter, but man, he made 4 of them. Kenai Roos, shout out to the freshman, 4 for 9 from deep, and then Koren Johnson scoring. Koren was 3 for 4. Javon Hadley, 2 for 2. Louisville Lamont says what I was about to mention right after, the assists. 38 assists to 14 turnovers. One thing that just soured me over the past couple of seasons is that more often than not, the Cardinals had a negative assist to turnover ratio. And when that happens, you're not going to have a good amount of sustained success. I don't care what you say. Louisville was not only making the right pass, they almost had 40 assists. That's pretty good. The defense, well, not the defense yet, but they only turned the ball over 14 times. Now, that is still a decent amount. There were some that were forced, and I think you can attribute a lot of that to this being the first actual game that a lot of these guys have played with each other. I mean, you're talking about 11 new players in the Bahamas arena, which is sort of like a convention center turned to a basketball gym, and it's not the easiest place to play. I mean, teams have documented the struggles of playing in that arena. So it's not necessarily the easiest place to play. It does help when you play that level of competition, but nonetheless, all you can do is beat the team that's in front of you. The Cardinals did that. They had multiple players. And when I say multiple, I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players in double figures scoring. They were led by Javon Hadley, who had 18 points to go along with 6 rebounds. he was fantastic. I was intrigued by how Kelsey sort of deployed him in the middle of the zone, stuck him at the free throw line, and there were so many entry passes to that point. He turned around and dished it out and found open men. He dropped it down on the block to either James Scott or Boubacar Traore, or put the ball in the hands of a cutting guard. So I like the way that Hadley was utilized. You using that 6'6" frame, he's able to get to the rim really efficiently, but he got the ball and he was able to turn. And that's sort of the thing, is that we mentioned that Louisville has so many guys that are not only capable passers, but they are willing passers. It was a display of unselfishness all across the way. Now, the second half was rather sloppy, and at that point, Louisville's up by, almost 30, 40 points at that point. So it's really challenging to stay as focused, and I'm not really worried about it. I mean, it was going to be sloppy anyway. Like, it's not going to be a finished product. And the fact that the offense looked the way it did right then and there, I feel like that's really positive. Like, there are many positives to take away from the offensive performance, and it all starts with the ball movement. Guys were shooting it really well. Overall, Louisville shot 51% from the field. I wasn't worried about the efficiency so much. I wasn't worried about the final score as much. I wanted to see, how was Louisville getting their shots? Were they moving the ball? Were they moving without the ball? What was the pace looking like? Louisville made an emphasis to move. Once they got the rebound, boom, that initial outlet pass, and the Cardinals are off into transition. And multiple players can initiate that. The versatility, Kasean Pryor, 3 of 4 from three-point land in the first, I think, before the first TV timeout. So, again, it's really exciting to see how Louisville has played on the offensive end. Koren Johnson looked like he can score at will, which he did. Kenai Roots was, even though the stats don't necessarily show it, he was 4 of 12 from the field. He had 14 points, 4 3-pointers. I think it was 6 rebounds. That's awesome. Love to see that from him. And this team is just, I'm really excited for what this team brings to the table. But the thing that I was most impressed with was the defense. I knew the offense was going to be okay. The defense I was interested in. And I was really, I wouldn't necessarily say surprised. I was impressed. And I'll explain why coming up here in the next segment. Today's episode of the show is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, but right now the sports have stopped sporting like I want them to. However, FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime that I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of the end of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And heading into the second segment of this live edition of Locked On Louisville, recapping Louisville's 111-59 victory over the Bahamas in the first exhibition game of the Pat Kelsey tenure. The defense was really solid. It was better than I would have expected it to be, and it was as good as I could have hoped. From the very beginning, you saw, from an individual standpoint, a ton of effort. The energy and the effort was off the charts. I mean, and it all starts with the head coach. I mean, again, I don't like to continue to make comparisons between Kenny Payne and Pat Kelsey. I won't even talk about Kenny Payne, but I will say that Pat Kelsey's energy, you could tell that the team was feeding off of it. Kelsey was essentially demanding that the team rise to his level of dedication and his level of passion, which they did. I mean, they were diving after loose balls. They were switching. They were communicating. They were, moving quick laterally. They were getting to the rim. And most importantly, they were crashing the boards. Louisville doesn't really have a true rim protector outside of James Scott, and Babu mentions, I hope James Scott is okay. Also, as well, I'm not necessarily so sure as to what happened with him. Admittedly, there was a portion of the game that I didn't watch. So if he is hurt, hopefully it's nothing serious. Then again, that's assuming that Babu's comment is that James Scott did undergo some type of a injury of some sort. Of chat, go ahead and fill me in on that. What happened to James Scott? But nonetheless, while that happens, I'm going to continue on along. Individually, you saw the effort. You saw players put that defensive versatility on full display. And that's something that I really wanted to see was how is the team going to switch? Who's going to guard who? Like, what are the roles going to look like? Yes, inferior competition, but still, you still get to see some sort of the process. And that was what was important to me in this particular matchup. So ultimately, individually, the team was good. Michael Singleton says, I think it was his wrist. That is definitely insightful. Appreciate that comment. Hopefully nothing substantial. Looks like he hurt his wrist on an attempted dunk. I do remember that. Okay. Yeah, hopefully there's nothing wrong there. I wonder if Kelsey's going to keep him out of the final game against the University of, I think it's the University of Calgary, because it's a game that doesn't matter. Noah Waterman also didn't play at all. I want to hear the status on what Pat Kelsey says in regards to his availability. But nonetheless, collectively, the team was really good defensively. They recorded 10 blocks. They recorded 12 steals. Koren Johnson had 2 blocks. Frank Anselm eBay, 4 blocks. He's one player moving forward that I'm like, what's his role going to look like? Nonetheless, you have double-digit blocks and steals, 49 rebounds overall. 21 of those were offensive, by the way. That's pretty solid. But the way that the team switched, I mean, it was pesky defense. Like, once you cross half court, boom, up in your face. Chucky Hepburn, you're not getting by me. Koren Johnson, you're not getting by me. Boubacar Traore, as good as advertised on the defensive end, had a vicious first half block that I was like, man. I hope you all are as excited as I am, man. I feel sort of giddy. It's just awesome watching Louisville basketball just be fun. And for those of you in the comments, well, it's the Bahamas. I don't give a damn. This was fun basketball. And Card Nation, we deserve this. This is going to be a fun season, in my opinion. I think that the process being where it is, 3 months ahead of the season, yeah, this team's going to get better and better. And the fact that they showed so much on the defensive end already, and they weren't giving up many open shots. A lot of the shots that the Bahamas made, they were contested buckets. Now, there were some situations where they caught Louisville's defense lacking and napping a little bit, and they made them pay. But ultimately, it wasn't an issue. Even when Louisville was winning by almost half as many points as the Bahamas had, it didn't really seem like the Cardinals lacked defensive alert, being alert on the defensive end. And the effort was there as well. So I think that there are a good amount of really good individual defenders, but it's hard to get a team to mesh cohesively on that end. I want to see continuity in the next game. I want to see this team continually show that. Because after all, small sample size, it is one game. You can't cut the nets down with one victory over the Bahamas. I understand that. I'm not asking you to go ahead and get those 40-0 tattoos. I know that Wolf fans don't do that, but I digress. And I do want to say before we get into that last segment where we sort of break down some of the individual performances. Be sure to drop some comments, drop some questions that you all may have. I'll answer them at the top of the next segment. Before we do that, I want to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. The first sponsor that I want to tell you about is Ibotta. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer but dreading the cost? Well, with Ibotta, you get cash back on all of your purchases, so you can spend money and more time making memories this summer and less time dreaming about them. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. Now, if you're asking what Ibotta is, it's a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries, toys, beauty supplies, you name it. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use the code LOCKEDONCollege. Before we get into the next segment, I also want to tell you about our friends over at Factor. Look, when July started, I made it a point of emphasis to change up my diet. Things were just getting stale in taste, but with Factor's no prep, no mess meals, it has completely changed the way I go about eating. You can meet your wellness goals in time for the fall thanks to the menu of chef-created meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and even Keto. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. You need to treat yourself. You deserve it. To restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and even blackened salmon. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use the code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's the code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. And into the final segment of this live reaction episode on this fine Tuesday evening of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Appreciate you all for tuning in and making Locked On Louisville your first listen every day. Just a reminder, the show is free on all streaming services 5 days a week, your team every day. I want to conclude the show today by sort of breaking down the individual performances. Usually I wouldn't do this on a recap episode, going down the line and talking about each player. But we've never seen any of these guys in a Louisville uniform, so I'm like, screw it. Let's talk about every player as it relates to everyone on this team. Who would I claim is the MVP? That's one I sort of went back and forth with. I'm going to go with Javon Hadley. Led the team with 18 points, and it wasn't more so his scoring. It was him getting the ball at the elbow, at the free throw line, and being able to distribute and facilitate. And I felt like he was the glue for the offensive side. Not to mention, he had 6 rebounds. 2 of those were on the offensive side, and he also had 2 assists. So I feel like 8 for 10 from the field. He did everything that you could have hoped for him to do. Drop who you think the MVP of this game was in the comments. If it wasn't for him, there are other 2 guys that I would have gone with. First one would have been Koren Johnson, 15 points on 6 of 8 shooting, 3 of 4 from downtown. He had a game-high 9 assists. He had 3 steals and 2 blocks. Scoring, Koren lived up to the name. He couldn't be guarded. It's one of those situations where I've bought in so much the scoring opportunities and scoring ability for him. I truly believe that he can get to any spot on the court that he desires and create his own offense. He's extremely elusive. The handle is extremely tight. Defensively, you saw that really solid point of attack, quick hand level approach, and Koren was fantastic. I think he could be one of the starters as we head into the season. You have Kasean Pryor, who started out with a quick 12 points He had, I think he fouled out of this game, actually. But he had a block. He had 3 steals, 6 and 9 from the field. If he's hitting that shot and being able to be that solid pick and pop guy, then you're in for a really, really good, really good season with him in the front court. Going down the line, James Scott, 6 points, 3 of 3 shooting, 5 rebounds. Hopefully he is okay. I liked what he brought to the table defensively. Felt like he moved really well without the ball. And he was featured in the pick and roll game and as a lob threat, caught a couple of alley-oops. So that was pretty solid. Terrence Edwards, not the greatest offensive night, but not bad. 10 points, 2 of 4 from 3, 5 assists, 3 steals. I like that he affected the game in more ways than just scoring. I think that that's an underrated aspect of his overall game. Chucky Hepburn, pretty forgettable night, I should say. 1 for 7 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. Only had 3 points, but he had 4 assists. He had 2 steals. He had 1 rebound. Ultimately, not worried about him. Played really, really good individual defense. Played a huge factor in a good collective defense for the Cardinals. So, again, had a pretty solid 3-pointer. I think it was in the first half that made it, 30-11, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm okay with that. So, Cody Bischoff says, I shed a tear, dog. I shed a tear tonight. Man, I told my dad, I was like, this makes me want to cry. After what we watched the past couple of seasons, man, we deserve Louisville basketball to be fun again. But I definitely feel you there, man. Abubakar Traore, really solid game for him. 11 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. That's the type of player that I've been saying is what Louisville's going to get. Not the greatest perimeter threat, but he does everything else so damn good. He's really good at attacking the basket, great passer, really good defender, pretty solid opportunistic shot blocker, good secondary shot blocker as well, being able to not be your more traditional guy that's going to protect the rim, but closes out a ton, trusts those instincts, trusts that timing, and I thought he played extremely well. Koren Johnson, talked about him. Rain Smith had 12 points, all coming from the three-point line. You know, Rain Smith is going to be the sharpshooter. He did have 5 assists too, which is good. Just kind of reiterates that ball movement was a key. Michael Singleton says he will get a triple-double for sure. Traore will 100%. He'll probably get multiple. But, yeah, I definitely agree there. Rain Smith, at first it seemed like there was a lid on the rim. Then he started to get going, and you could just tell he's going to be a really good three-point shooter, the Ryan McMahon of this team. Frank Anselamibe, 5 points in limited action, 2 of 5 from the field, 4 rebounds, and 4 blocks. I thought he was really good in his limited minutes. Patrick Antonelli, Aiden McCool, both no points, came in at the end of the game. Kenai Roots, he's a dog. Yeah, the shot really wasn't falling much. He was 4 of 12 from the field, but he was 4 of 9 from 3. Like, one thing that we wanted to see was how is his three-point shooting going to translate to the college game? And if he's making 4 in his first game, I think that really bodes well for his trajectory. Like, I think you have to hold on to him at the end of this season, but he could be a star next year for the Cardinals. I think he's going to be a key part of this rotation. 14 points, 6 rebounds. I thought he obviously plays well to his strengths, attacking the glass. So overall, this was a good win. Let's just take it for what it is. It was a good win. And Babu says Frank needs to practice those free throws. Yeah, he's never really been good at free throw shooting. Yes, he needs to be better at scoring from the charity stripe. Okay, here's how I'm going to wrap this up. 2 things are true at one time. Number 1, this was a July exhibition game against the Bahamas, a team that you are more talented than, that you should have blown out. You did. You can't really take a ton of substantial things away from this game. That's the first part. The second part is that you can be satisfied with the effort and the energy. You can be encouraged by the fast-paced offense and the unselfishness in which the way the ball moves and how the team operates in transition. You can be encouraged by the attentiveness to detail on the defensive end, the relentless tenacity, 1 through 5 on defense. One guy wasn't holding the team back. It was all 5 guys working together, communicating, switching, and playing hard. You can accept all that I talked about in the first part while also being satisfied. A win is a win. Because I guarantee you that if Louisville would have lost this game, yeah, we'd have been talking about it. Now, Louisville was supposed to win. So, again, if you handle business, I mean, it is what it is. But I'm not really going to really take so much away from this. The main thing I'm focused on now is how Louisville will respond. What we saw tonight, will it continue over? What aspects of tonight will continue over? Like, for instance, I don't think the three-point shooting 47 threes is going to continue over. Maybe it might on Thursday, but I don't think it will for the season coming up. But I do think that the unselfishness will trickle over. I think the defensive versatility will. I think the communication will. The energy and effort will as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Michael Price, my guy, growing the stash. Go Cards. Love you, defense. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. Love you too, my guy. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode. Just want to give a couple shameless plugs. We will break down the Thursday game. It won't be a live reaction, but there will be a Thursday reaction on Thursday evening, breaking down the Thursday game. Football position previews are up on the channel on YouTube or on any streaming service you utilize. We're going to be ranking the top 15 players upcoming here in the next week or so. We are going to basically break down the schedule, discuss what the wins and losses are going to be. We've got some basketball recruiting to discuss as the week goes on. There's a lot of great stuff to talk about, and I'm excited to get into the football season and get closer to the basketball season. But that is going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of the show. Everyone have a great day. Have a great night. We'll see you right back here very soon.